The alien mansion stood high on the silver hills, shining under two moons. Inside, golden walls and crystal lights spoke of endless wealth. Yet behind the riches lived a pain no treasure could heal. The millionaire alien mother, Lady Soraya, was known in every corner of the galaxy. Her name opened gates, her voice moved armies, and her wealth built cities. But in her heart was a wound deeper than any starless night. Her only daughter, Leora, could not walk. Since her childhood accident, her legs had refused to answer her call. Doctors came, healers came, machines hummed, and medicines glowed. Still, nothing changed. The girl sat in her floating chair, silent, watching the world pass by. The mother gave everything, yet felt she had nothing. Every morning, Lady Soraya stood by Leora's window. She watched other children running in the gardens below. Leora's eyes followed them, quiet and longing. A smile never stayed long on her face. Soraya's wealth was like sand, slipping through her hands, useless against fate. Once, she had taken Leora to the grand capital. The brightest alien healers promised miracles. They placed shining crystals on her skin. They filled her with glowing energy. Machines wrapped around her like armor. But when the tests ended, her legs remained still, Leora cried. Not from pain, but from hope lost again. Soraya had to lift her into her arms and carry her home. In that moment, the richest mother felt poorer than the poorest beggar. Whispers began in alien courts. Soraya has all the money, yet she cannot heal her child. She builds towers, yet her daughter cannot stand. Soraya's enemies smiled in secret. Her friends turned their faces away. For what good is a queen when she cannot save her own blood? Still, Soraya did not stop. She brought Star's best machines into her mansion. Day and night they scanned, they beeped, they worked. But the girl's legs remained silent. Like two forgotten branches of a tree, Soraya screamed in silence, but the universe gave no answer. Leora grew, but her world remained small. From her floating chair she saw gardens, halls, and the endless sky. Yet she never touched the grass with her own feet, never felt the strength of standing tall. Her hands clutched the arms of her chair as if holding chains. She dreamed of running, yet woke to stillness. And every time her eyes met her mother's, both hearts broke again. One night, as storms rolled across the alien skies, Leora whispered, "Mother, why me?" Her voice was thin, trembling like a candle in the wind. Soraya held her close, tears glowing under the lightning. She had no answer, a millionaire, yet powerless before her daughter's question. That night, Soraya promised the stars she would not give up, even if she had to break every law, even if she had to pay with her life. But fate played cruel games. The alien council warned her. Enough experiments, enough forbidden cures, they said. If you cross the line, even your power will not save you. Soraya bowed before them, but in her heart rebellion burned. She would not stop. Not for their rules. Not for their threats. Her daughter's smile was worth more than galaxies. And then, the whispers of humans reached her ears. Tiny, fragile creatures from a small blue world. They had no shining crystals, no grand machines, yet some said their hearts carried strange strength. A rumor spread, humans heal in ways we cannot understand. Soraya ignored it at first. What could such small beings do that her empire could not? But the seed was planted, and one day that seed would grow into a miracle that would shake the galaxy. For now, the mansion stayed silent. Leora sat by her window, watching stars cross the sky. Her mother sat beside her, hands folded, eyes heavy. With sorrow, the past was heavy, the pain endless. But beyond the darkness waited a spark. One step, one chance, one human. The story of the broken past was only the beginning. The mansion gates had seen many visitors, doctors, healers, scientists. Priests all had come and gone. None stayed, none succeeded. But one day a different figure arrived, not tall like the alien nobles, not shining with jewels or power. He was human. His name was Daniel, a simple man by alien standards. To the rich and mighty, he looked weak. fragile, almost laughable. No glowing skin, no silver eyes, no crown of technology, just plain clothes, plain hands, plain face. Yet in his eyes burned something that others had lost. Hope. Lady Soraya almost sent him away. What can a human do, she thought. Machines of the galaxy have failed. Why would his hand succeed? But when Daniel bowed before her daughter, not as a doctor, not as a servant, but as a friend, something in her heart paused. He looked at Leora not as a broken girl, but as a living soul. And that look was different from all she had seen. Before Daniel sat beside Leora's floating chair, he did not rush to check her legs. He did not speak of cures or machines. Instead, he asked her favorite story, her favorite dream. Leora blinked in surprise. No one had asked her dreams. They only asked about her pain. Slowly, her lips moved. "I dream of walking on grass," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "Then that is where we begin." Days passed, and Daniel stayed in the mansion. He brought no grand tools, only his hands, his words, his patience. At first, the alien guards laughed. "Look at the human," they mocked. "He massages her legs as if flesh can wake from death." Others sneered. "He plays like a child. It is useless." But Daniel did not hear them, or perhaps he did not care. He kept speaking to Leora. "You are not broken, you are waiting," he told her, waiting for the right moment to rise. Each night he worked with her quietly. He touched her legs not with power but with care. He moved her feet, lifted her knees, stretched her muscles, and with each motion he spoke words of courage. Leora listened, and for the first time in years she felt warmth in her soul. The pain was still there, the weakness was still heavy. But Daniel's voice carried something stronger than pain. It carried belief. Lady Soraya watched from the shadows. Her heart fought with her mind. Her mind whispered, "This is foolish. He wastes time." Her heart whispered, "Look at your daughter's eyes. They shine again." And so she allowed the human to stay, though doubt still burned inside her. One night, as silver rain fell across the alien sky, Daniel carried Leora's chair to the garden. She looked at him in fear. "Why here?" she asked. Daniel knelt before her. "Because this is where grass grows." The garden glowed with crystal lamps. For the first time, Leora's bare feet touched the cool blades of grass. Though she could not stand, the feeling rushed through her. Her tears fell silently. Daniel whispered, "One day you will not only touch it, you will run across it." Whispers spread among the servants. "Leora is smiling again," they said. "Perhaps the human has magic," others whispered. But it was no magic. It was persistence. Daniel returned each morning, each night. He lifted her legs, moved her arms, made her try again and again. Some days she cried in frustration. Some days she screamed, "It hurts, I cannot." But Daniel's answer never changed. "Then we try again," he said. Slowly something began to change. Tiny sparks in Leora's muscles, a twitch in her toes, a shiver in her knee. The alien machines had seen nothing for years. But under human hands, life stirred. Soraya gasped when she saw it for the first time in forever. Hope felt real, yet danger grew as well. The Alien Council forbade such unapproved methods. They called it reckless, even illegal. If they discover this, Soraya thought, Daniel will be punished, perhaps killed. Still, she could not stop him. She watched her daughter's face glow brighter with each secret night. She had seen wealth build cities, but never had she seen faith build strength. One evening, Leora managed to push herself upright for a breath, only for a second, before falling back. But that second was enough. Her scream of joy echoed across the halls. Daniel caught her in his arms and laughed. "You see, the first step has already begun." Soraya, hidden at the door, felt her hands tremble. Tears ran down her face, not of sorrow, but of fragile joy. The human connection was growing, not built on power, not on wealth, but on faith. In the silence of the alien night, something greater than technology had awakened. One mother, one daughter, one human. The galaxy did not yet know, but a storm of change had already begun. The mansion was a palace of light during the day, but at night it became a prison of silence. Guards walked the halls, cameras blinked on the walls, and every shadow carried the weight of rules. Yet inside Leora's room, a secret was growing. Daniel came every night after the alien servants had gone. He moved softly, careful not to wake suspicion. He closed the crystal curtains, leaving only the dim glow of a lantern. There, with no machines, no witnesses, only his hands and her will, the healing continued. At first, the progress was almost invisible. A tremor in Leora's foot, a flicker in her thigh, but Daniel celebrated each tiny movement as if it was victory. "You see, your body remembers," he told her. "You are not broken, only sleeping." And slowly, Leora began to believe him. The exercises were painful. Daniel pressed her legs, bent them, forced her muscles to stretch. Sometimes she cried out, clutching the arms of her chair. "Stop, it hurts, I can't," she pleaded. But Daniel shook, his head gently. "Pain is not the enemy," he whispered. "Pain is proof that your body is waking." And through the tears, Leora continued. Lady Soraya watched from hidden corners, her heart a storm of fear and hope. Every sound from the room struck her with two feelings, fear of discovery and joy of possibility. She wanted to stop the human, yet she could not. For every night her daughter's spirit glowed brighter, and no wealth had ever bought that light. One night, Daniel placed a wooden stick in Leora's hands. She frowned. "What is this for?" Daniel smiled. "It is not for walking, not yet, it is for balance." He guided her arms as she tried to push herself forward. Her legs trembled, her body shook. For a heartbeat, she stood, her knees quivering like leaves, and then she fell back into the chair, but she did not cry this time. She laughed. For the first time in years, she felt herself rise above the chair. The mansion whispered with rumors. Servants noticed Leora's eyes shining. They saw her hands gripping the chair differently, as if she expected to leave it. Some muttered, "The human is dangerous." Others whispered, "Maybe he is a miracle." But none dared tell the council yet. The mansion was a cage, but inside the cage rebellion grew. One evening, disaster nearly struck. A guard came to check the hall earlier than usual. Daniel was inside, helping Leora stand near the window. Her weak legs shook as she leaned against him. The door creaked. The guard's shadow fell across the floor. Daniel froze. Leora's heart pounded. In a desperate move, Daniel lowered her back into the chair and threw a blanket across her legs. When the guard entered, he saw only a tired girl resting. Daniel bowed, pretending he had come to read her stories. The guard left, but Daniel's forehead was wet with sweat. That night, Soraya realized the danger was real. If they were caught, not only Daniel, but Leora too, might suffer punishment. Yet Leora did not want to stop. "Mother, please, let him continue." She begged. Soraya touched her daughter's face, torn between fear and love. Her voice broke. "If they take him away, you will suffer again." But Leora whispered back, "If he leaves, I will suffer forever." And Soraya, the proud, unbending queen, bowed her head in silence. She gave permission, not with words but with tears. So the secret healing grew bolder. Daniel brought simple tools, ropes, sticks, stones. He made Leora push against weight, pull herself up, hold balance for longer. Each success was tiny, but together they formed a storm. Leora's legs twitched stronger, her steps lasted longer, her spirit burned brighter. But with progress came new danger. One evening, while practicing, Leora stumbled forward and fell with a loud crash. The noise echoed in the hall. Footsteps rushed closer. Daniel quickly lifted her, holding her tightly, whispering, "Quiet, breathe." Servants knocked at the door, asking if all was well. Soraya herself rushed in, her face pale. She saw Daniel holding her daughter upright, legs trembling but alive. The sight shook her soul. The servants saw too. But Soraya ordered them away with a voice of steel. Behind closed doors, she whispered to Daniel, "This cannot remain hidden forever. Daniel nodded. One day it must be shown, not as a crime, but as truth. Soraya looked at her daughter's shaking legs and felt a fear greater than death. Truth could save them, or destroy them. That night, when the mansion slept, Leora asked Daniel, "Why do you do this for me?" His voice was calm, but his eyes shone. "Because no one else believed you could, and I could not bear that." Leora's hands shook as she reached out, gripping his fingers. "Then I will not give up," she whispered. And for the first time, her voice carried the strength of one who had already begun to walk. The secret healing was no longer just about legs. It was about courage, about faith, about breaking chains. In the silence of the mansion, history was being rewritten, and soon, the galaxy would be forced to see what a human heart could do. The mansion slept under the glow of 2 moons. Silver light spread across the gardens, and the halls were quiet like frozen rivers. But inside Leora's chamber, the night was alive. Daniel stood before her with calm eyes, holding the wooden stick they had practiced with. Leora's hands shook as she reached for it. Her legs trembled even before they tried to stand. Fear pressed down on her chest, heavier than chains. She whispered, "What if I fall again?" Daniel knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Then, I will catch you and we will try again." The chair hummed softly, floating as if mocking her weakness. For years this chair had been her prison, her throne, her curse. Now she wanted to leave it, but leaving meant pain, danger, and the risk of breaking again. She closed her eyes, hearing Daniel's words echo. "You are not broken, you are waiting." With a breath, she pressed her weight forward. Her arms shook, her knees bent, her feet pressed against the floor, every muscle screamed, every nerve burned. Yet for a single moment, she rose. She rose like the sun breaking through storm clouds. Her knees quivered, her body swayed, but she was standing, truly standing. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain, but from the joy of height. The world looked different from here, no longer trapped. In the low view of the chair, she could look Daniel in the eyes without tilting up. She could feel the ground pressing back against her, alive. Her breath caught. "I'm standing," she whispered. Daniel's smile was wide. "Yes, you are." But the moment was fragile. Her legs shook like leaves, and she collapsed into Daniel's arms. He held her gently, lowering her back to the chair. Instead of despair, laughter broke from her lips. For the first time in years, she had risen. Even for a heartbeat, she had defied fate. Lady Soraya stood, hidden in the doorway, her heart pounding. She had come quietly, afraid of what she might see, and what she saw tore her soul apart. Her daughter, who had not stood since childhood, had risen tonight. The proud mother who once commanded armies felt her knees weaken. Tears filled her eyes as she pressed her hand against the wall to steady herself. Her empire had never given her this joy. A single moment of her daughter standing was worth more than galaxies. But joy and danger walked together. The council would call this forbidden. The guards would call this rebellion. If the secret spread too soon, Daniel would be taken, punished, maybe worse. Soraya's mind burned with fear, but her heart whispered, "Let it happen, let her live." Daniel looked at Leora, determination in his eyes. "This is only the first step," he said. "Tomorrow you will stand longer, then longer still until you walk." Leora's tears sparkled like stars. She nodded. "I will not give up, not now." The next nights became a battlefield of hope and pain. Every attempt left her drained. Every fall left bruises. But each rise lasted longer. Each moment grew stronger. Sometimes she collapsed crying. Sometimes she screamed in anger. But Daniel's words were always there. "Again," he urged. "Again until your body remembers." The servants began to notice her glow. Her posture changed. Her hands gripped the chair less. Whispers spread like wildfire. "She looks taller," they said. "Her face shines as if she holds a secret." Fear grew in some hearts, hope in others. The mansion was no longer silent. It breathed with the tension of change. One night, as rain struck the windows, Daniel asked her to try without the stick. Her eyes widened in fear. "I can't," she said. "You can," Daniel whispered. "Because you already did." She gripped his hands, her body trembling. Slowly, painfully, she pushed herself upward. No stick, no chair, only will. Her legs screamed, her balance faltered, but Daniel steadied her. She stood again, longer than before. The rain outside roared like applause. In that moment, Leora felt alive, more alive than ever, but danger returned quickly. That same night, a servant passed by the window and froze. Through the glass, he saw the girl standing, supported by the human. His eyes widened in shock. He ran down the hall to tell others, but before his words spread, Lady Soraya intercepted him. Her eyes burned with the fire of command. "Not a word," she ordered, her voice cold. "If you value your life, you saw nothing tonight." The servant bowed, trembling, his lips sealed by fear, for Soraya knew the time was not yet right. Back in the chamber, Leora collapsed again into her chair. Her chest rose and fell, her body drenched in sweat, but her eyes were brighter than ever. "Did you see?" she whispered. "I stood on my own." Daniel nodded, pride filling his face. "Yes, and soon you will walk." The first step had been taken. It was small, fragile, hidden in the shadows, but it carried the weight of a storm waiting to break. In that secret night, history shifted. A girl who was thought broken had risen. A human who was thought weak had proven stronger than empires. And though no one else knew, the galaxy was already changing. The mansion glowed brighter than ever that night. Lanterns lined the silver halls. Banners stretched across the high ceilings, and music from crystal harps filled the air. It was the annual banquet, a gathering of nobles, generals, and alien leaders. Every eye turned toward Lady Soraya, the millionaire mother who commanded respect across the stars. She wore a gown of shimmering gold, her face calm but her heart restless. For tonight was not like other nights. Tonight her daughter would attend. The daughter they all pitied. The daughter they whispered about. The girl who had never walked. Leora sat in her floating chair, dressed in silver that matched the moons. Her eyes sparkled, but her hands trembled. Hidden beneath her gown, her legs were not as weak as before. They had been trained in secret, tested in pain, strengthened by faith. Daniel stood in the shadows of the hall, his simple clothes out of place among jeweled robes. Yet his eyes were steady, waiting. The banquet began with laughter and speeches. Aliens boasted of victories, traded secrets, raised cups of glowing drink. But beneath the noise, whispers always returned to Soraya's child. "There she is, still in her chair." One noble muttered, "Poor girl, she will never stand." Another sighed. Soraya's hand tightened around her cup, her jaw stiff. She had grown used to these words, but tonight they cut deeper, for she knew something they did not. The moment arrived like thunder, hidden in clouds. The orchestra paused, the hall quieted. The host called out, "Let us honor Lady Soraya and her daughter." All eyes turned, expecting the same sad sight they had seen for years. A girl in a chair, carried by wealth but broken by fate. But this time, the silence grew heavier, for Leora's hands gripped the arms of her chair. Her legs trembled beneath her gown, and with Daniel's silent nod from the corner, she pushed herself up. Gasps echoed through the hall. Her knees shook, her arms wavered. But she rose, one step, then another. The sound of her feet touching the marble floor cracked through the silence like fire. The chair floated behind her, forgotten. The nobles leaned forward, disbelief on their faces. The generals muttered, "Impossible." Servants froze, wine spilled, plates trembled, and then it happened. Lady Soraya's hand slipped. The golden plate she held crashed to the floor, shattering in pieces. The hall went silent. The music stopped. Every gaze locked on the millionaire mother. Her eyes were wide, her lips parted in shock. Her daughter, paralyzed for years, was walking toward her. Leora's steps were slow, painful, fragile, but every step carried more power than all the armies in the galaxy. Her face glowed with tears. Her lips trembled with joy. She whispered with each movement, "One more step. One more." The crowd could not breathe. Some whispered, "It is a miracle." Others hissed, "It is forbidden." The air was heavy. With awe and fear, Daniel stayed in the shadows, his heart racing. He wanted to rush forward, to help, to cheer. But he knew. This moment belonged to Leora, not to him. If they saw him, suspicion would fall, danger would grow. So he clenched his fists and prayed silently for her strength. Leora reached her mother. Her legs shook violently, her body bent, but she stood tall enough to look into Soraya's eyes. "Mother," she whispered, voice breaking. The millionaire queen, who had faced battles, wars, and councils, felt her body tremble like a child. She reached out, touching her daughter's arms. It was real, not a dream, not a trick of light. Her daughter was standing. The hall erupted in chaos. Some shouted in joy, "Blessed be her strength." Others shouted in fear, "This is unnatural." The councilors gathered, whispering of forbidden cures, of laws broken. One raised his voice. "This cannot be allowed. No alien medicine could do this." All eyes searched for the source of the miracle. Whispers of human spread like fire. Daniel shrank deeper into the shadows, knowing his secret was on the edge of discovery. But Leora spoke before anyone else could. Her voice rang clear, though her body shook. "I am not cursed. I am not broken. I am alive." Her words cut through the hall sharper than any blade. The nobles fell silent. The servants wept. Even the councilors froze, their laws trembling before her courage. Lady Soraya pulled her daughter into her arms. Her tears flowed freely, her body shaking with pride and fear. For years she had dreamed of this moment. For years she had prayed, begged, and cursed the stars. Now, against all reason, against all law, her daughter had walked. But joy was not the only guest that night. Suspicion grew like shadow. The council's eyes burned as they whispered of trials, punishments, and forbidden truths. The storm had begun, and Daniel knew it would not stop. For tonight, the galaxy had seen something impossible, and impossible things always demanded a price. The public revelation had shaken the hall. The whispers of pity were gone, replaced by fear, wonder, and envy. The girl who could not walk had stood before the universe. The mother who once felt powerless now held her daughter with pride. But in the shadows, the human who made it possible prepared for the storm to come. The banquet hall had turned from celebration into a storm. The sight of Leora walking had shaken every guest, every noble, every servant. But the most shaken of all were the alien councilors, the guardians of ancient law. They rose from their seats, tall and stern in robes of silver, their voices cut through the air like cold knives. "This is no miracle," one shouted. "This is forbidden work against the laws of nature and council," said another. Gasps spread across the room, and fear followed. Lady Soraya stood frozen, her daughter. Clinging to her arm, she wanted to shield her child. But the council's eyes burned with suspicion. Who healed her? They demanded. What trick was used? What forbidden science brought her legs alive? The hall waited, every heart pounding, every breath caught in silence. Leora's lips trembled, her voice soft but brave. "No trick," she said. "I walked with my own strength." But the councilors sneered. "Impossible. No alien medicine has ever cured such paralysis." Their gazes scanned the hall, searching. And then, as if pulled by fate, their eyes found Daniel in the shadows. Whispers rushed like fire. "The human." One noble hissed, "He is the cause." Another muttered. Daniel stepped forward slowly, knowing hiding now was useless. His plain clothes made him stand out. Among the glittering crowd, his eyes met Soraya's for a heartbeat, and then Leora's, both filled with fear and trust. The councilors turned to him, their voices sharp. "Human, what have you done? What forbidden power did you use?" Daniel bowed his head, calm but firm. "No power," he answered. "Only patience, only faith, only care." The crowd stirred, confusion rippling across alien faces. One councilor slammed his staff. Lies, humans are weak, they cannot heal what we could not. Daniel's voice rose clear and steady. Your machines looked at her body but not her spirit. Your crystals measured her bones but not her hope. I gave her what no machine could. Belief. The hall fell silent, his words cutting deeper than expected. Lady Soraya stepped forward, her voice trembling with power. He speaks truth, she declared. I saw my daughter's light return under his guidance, not through forbidden tools, but through strength of will. The council's faces darkened. Strength of will is not medicine, they said. It is rebellion against the council. A guard moved closer to Daniel, chains in his hands. Leora cried out, stepping forward on shaking legs. No, she shouted, her voice echoing. If you punish him, then punish me too, for it was my choice to fight, my choice to rise. The hall gasped at her courage. The paralyzed girl now standing defending the human before the galaxy. The councilors wavered, but their pride was iron. Our laws keep order, they hissed. If we allow this, then all will break. Soraya's eyes blazed. Your laws kept my daughter in chains. Your pride kept her in silence. But look at her now. Look with your own eyes. Tell me your laws are greater than her. Steps. The hall divided. Some nobles whispered in awe. She is right. The human achieved what we could not. Others murmured in fear. If humans can do this, they are dangerous. Servants wept openly, torn between joy and terror. The storm of voices rose, shaking the walls of the hall. Daniel stood still, his hands open. If my crime is giving hope, then I accept the punishment, he said. His calmness only fueled the whispers. Some looked at him as a hero, others as a threat. Leora's hands gripped her mother's tightly. Her voice trembled but grew louder with each word. You call him weak, but he made me strong. You call him useless, but he gave me my life back. If this is a crime, then your laws are crueler than chains. Her words rang across the hall, striking hearts like thunder. The councilors tried to silence her, but Lady Soraya raised her hand, her eyes blazing with fire. No, she commanded, her voice shaking the hall. Tonight I am not your servant, not your peer. I am a mother. And if you dare call this miracle a crime, then you must chain me too. The hall erupted in cries. Some cheered, some shouted, some called for exile. The councilors argued among themselves, their unity cracked, for never before had a human challenged them so openly. Never before had a mother defied their laws so boldly. The night ended not in judgment, but in chaos. The council announced a trial would be held. Daniel would stand accused, and the miracle would be questioned. The nobles left whispering, the servants left trembling. But in the shadows, hope had grown too bright to be smothered. As the hall emptied, Soraya held her daughter close. Her heart was torn between fear and pride. Daniel stood nearby, silent but steady. The storm was coming. The trial would decide their fate. But in Soraya's eyes and Leora's steps, one truth had already been written. The laws of the galaxy were nothing before the power of the human heart. The trial hall was vast, built of black stone and glowing silver pillars. It had judged criminals, traitors, even kings, but never before had it judged a human. Daniel stood in the center, his hands bound by glowing chains. Around him, the alien council sat high on their thrones, their eyes sharp and cold. The nobles filled the upper seats, whispering, waiting to see the end. At the front, Lady Soraya and Leora stood together, their faces pale but unbroken. The council's leader rose, his voice deep and hard. This human stands accused of defying law. He brought forbidden methods into our world. He claims to heal what could not be healed. He threatens the order of our people. His words thundered, shaking the hall. Daniel lifted his head, his voice calm. I am guilty of nothing but hope, he said. I touched no forbidden crystal. I broke no sacred seal. I gave only what you refused to see: time, care, and belief. The council scoffed. Belief cannot mend bones. It cannot wake dead nerves. Daniel met their gaze without fear. Then look at her, he said, his voice rising. Look at the girl you left in despair. The girl you said would never rise. The chains of silence broke. Leora stepped forward, trembling but proud. Her legs shook, but she walked across the hall, each step echoing against the black stone like thunder. The nobles gasped, the servants cried. Even the council leaned forward, unable to deny their eyes. Leora's voice rang clear, stronger than ever before. You call my healing forbidden, but it is not forbidden to fight. It is not forbidden to try. This human did not change me with magic. He changed me because he believed I could change myself. The words cut through the air like a blade. The councilors shifted uncomfortably, their pride crumbling before truth. One whispered, "If humans can do this, what else are they capable of?" Another muttered, "Perhaps we were wrong." Lady Soraya stepped forward. Her voice filled the hall like a storm. "For years I begged you for help. You gave me machines, crystals, promises, and failure. But this human, with empty hands, gave me more than all your wealth and laws. He gave me back my daughter." Her eyes blazed as she shouted, "If you call this a crime, then you are blind. If you punish him, then you punish life itself." The hall erupted in chaos. Some nobles cried out in support. Others shouted in fear. The council's power trembled under the weight of so many voices. At last, the leader raised his staff. "Enough," he commanded. The hall silenced, every breath held. He looked at Daniel, then at Leora, then at Soraya. Slowly, he lowered his staff. "This is no crime," he declared. "The human broke no law, he only showed us what we failed to see." Gasps swept the hall. Chains around Daniel's wrists dissolved into light. Leora stumbled forward and clutched his hands, tears streaming down her face. "You are free," she whispered. Daniel smiled softly. "No, Leora, you are free." The nobles erupted in cheers and cries. Servants shouted with joy. Even some councilors bowed their heads, humbled by the truth. For the first time in centuries, the law had bent, not to power, but to humanity. Lady Soraya held her daughter in her arms. Her tears fell onto Leora's hair. She whispered, "You gave me more than any treasure. You gave me my child back." And in that moment, the proud mother, the powerful queen, felt small before the strength of a simple human. Daniel looked around the hall, his voice steady. "Do you see now? It is not machines or wealth that makes us strong. It is the human heart. We stumble, we fail, we rise again. That is what it means to be human. And that is why we will always matter." The words echoed through the hall, carried into every corner of the galaxy by those who heard them. Stories spread of the girl who walked, of the human who defied impossibility. In markets, in palaces, in battlefields, whispers grew. "Humans," they said. "Perhaps they are stronger than we believed." That night, under the twin moons, the mansion glowed brighter than ever. The halls were filled with joy instead of silence. Leora walked slowly through the garden, Daniel at her side, Soraya watching with pride. She touched the grass with her feet, the dream she had once whispered now real. Her laughter carried into the night, free and alive. The galaxy had changed forever, not because of power, not because of law, but because one fragile human refused to give up. One mother refused to stop fighting, and one daughter refused to stop dreaming. Sometimes the greatest strength does not come from armies or empires. Sometimes it comes from the smallest heart, a human heart,